Hello and welcome to Navigating, yet another episode where we try to make sense of the things happening around us through the lens of information and basically navigate our lives how they are happening. Vedan, I'm going to expose you a bit here because it
Okay.
is
Go ahead.
related to the topic that we are going to discuss. I think you are addicted to Sidemen, and you say that or your mom said the other day to me that you have to watch Sidemen if you want to have lunch. Why is that? Like, why? The question is, why do we watch something when we eat now and can't imagine our life just eating?
So, okay, there's a bit of a correction here. I do not watch just Sidemen. I just have to watch something, and most of the times it just happens to be Sidemen. So, I've been
Okay.
watching that since I was in school, not while eating, but eventually over the years, I don't know exactly when, but I developed the habit of watching something while I'm eating, and it just so happens to be Brooklyn Nine-Nine right now. And a majority of the reason is that because a lot of my day goes into like working, and then after that, I don't really feel, to take out time to watch something. So I just have that slot to watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine because I have to finish the series. I watch it while I have food because at that time I'm not doing anything else. So yeah, I think right now that is my primary reason for watching
And I am the same.
something.
I mean, I talk about like why we shouldn't do that, but I also watch something, and usually it was Brooklyn Nine-Nine because that's the most like the that's a serial that is that's a series that doesn't matter because whatever happens, even if we like don't watch half of the episode, we still get what they're doing, and it's just a brilliant series. So I used to put that on and then have lunch because again my I also like I am in the same boat where I'm working the entire day, and then when lunch or dinner time takes place, it's like I don't want to burden my brain into thinking about something, so I don't want to watch a very serious series. And I don't actually. And also, one thing happens with me is that sometimes I don't like the food or the taste of the food. So my brain kind of says, you know what, while watching, I'll just eat it
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
it will
yeah.
go inside me instead of focusing on the taste, which is a very wrong thing to do, but I do that. And recently one major problem that's been happening, because now I don't find anything interesting anymore. I have shifted from watching TV to watching YouTube, and the YouTube videos are mostly someone debunking someone. So it's usually someone who is talking about, why this person is wrong, and that's the only thing that I watch now. So I need to stop doing it anyways. But the core reason I want you to tell me some of the other things that relate to the information systems and how they have affected our behavior, because I do remember having lunch without watching anything on television, because again we used to exist before internet and before social media. So I remember sitting on the table and having dinner or having lunch with my parents. But having lunch watching TV during or while watching TV happened to me quite earlier on, because if I wasn't in school, then I used to literally sit in the hall and watch TV and have lunch. And parents used to tell all my other relatives that he doesn't sit on the table, and I haven't sat on the table I have and had lunch since I think I was 10 or 11 years old, or even before that, because I just watched TV and had lunch. So it has been a part of my life, which is going to be difficult to not do it anymore. But I have to. But anyways, so I wanted you to dive deep into all of these, and
Yeah.
also tell me something interesting that you said, and I'm quite curious about the advertisement that you said that
Yeah.
ran in 1950s America.
So when you said that, let's talk about this in our episode, I started obviously thinking first about myself. Since when is this happening? And you mentioned that it maybe started with TV, and with me, it actually did because I think you went to a school which was still
Yeah,
like
it was
four
a
or
day
five.
school, so my lunch had
Yeah.
to took place in
So it
school
took
itself.
place in
Yeah.
school, but my school used to get over at 1:30, and I
Mm.
remember I had this schedule. I used to come home I used to have lunch and I used to watch either Doraemon, Mickey Mouse, or some cartoon in that. But I used to only watch it for that time. Like,
Yeah.
just like right now, I'm just realizing the similarity. I used to watch it like for a half an hour or 1 hour. I had that one slot given to me by my parents. I used to watch it in that time, and it sort of became. So I was just wondering, it actually started way back. Because of television, and then I started thinking, oh, this is actually the case in many families, that people sit around the television and while they're eating, and they watch some sort of a serial, maybe a Marathi serial, maybe a movie,
Yeah,
or what.
and one thing that has happened is, I think in most households maybe that is the case. So the kid used to do it, and now slowly the father has shifted, and
Yeah,
then the mother has also shifted,
yeah,
and now everybody sits together in
yeah,
the hall watching some show,
yeah.
like you said. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then I was just wondering, how exactly did this start? So I came across a really, I mean, I found it very interesting. I don't know if you might. I'll just, narrate it to you. I have it written down here. So the habit of eating while, watching, it feels like normal today, but it actually started in the USA in around 1950s with something called as TV dinners. So the most widely accepted story behind this, it involves a company called Swanson, which used to manufacture oven-ready frozen chicken and turkeys in aluminum trays. So one of their salesmen called Gary Thomas, in 1953, what happened was that someone in the company grossly miscalculated the amount of turkeys that American families would be needing during Thanksgiving. So they had around 260 tons of frozen turkeys left after Thanksgiving, and they were stored in refrigerated cars, and they had to keep them moving so that it would not go stale. So that was a big issue. So this salesman, Thomas, he suggested that you turn the turkey into a ready-made meal by pairing it with sides like sweet potatoes and some other stuffings, and then you place them in aluminum
Mm.
trays that could be heated in the oven. So the company's bacteriologist also played an important role in this, because he researched how to heat the meat and the vegetables while also ensuring the food safety. And the exact origin of the story is debated. Some say that it was the idea of this salesman, but others say it came from the company's, the people in charge. So it was owned by a man named Swanson. It was his sons who were operating it. So some credit either, but I mean, the idea remained that they started manufacturing cold turkeys with other sides inside an aluminum tray. I've shared that ad with you, and you should display it right now so people watching this have some sort of context. And it quickly became a thing in American households, and they started branding this as TV dinners. So what happened was, in the early 50s, around that time, the television was still new, and only in 1950, only like 9% of the American households had it. But within 4 years, that number grew so much that 56% of the households had television, and by 1964, around 92% of the American households had television. So frozen food itself, it was not a new idea. It was in place since the World War II, when soldiers used to, because men were out on the battlefield, women had to go and, be in the workforce. So there was no one to cook food. So that is when frozen food came around. But what worked in these companies' favor was that television started booming around this time in around 1950s, and they like specifically advertised this as television dinners, and it succeeded. The entire idea succeeded because television blew up around that time, and it entered the living room, and it kind of became a very normal thing to have television and have this sort of food. And the advertising done for itself was also that a woman used to come in the advertising, and she used to say that, hey, I'm late, but dinner won't be, or no work before and no dishes after, because they used to sell these trays, and
Mm.
you actually didn't used to need to cook the food. It was ready made frozen food that you could just have it while having dinner. So that was how dinner with while watching TV essentially started, and then of course it evolved into us watching it while watching several shows, even with the home cooked food. Then it got into our mobile phones. It Earlier we used to watch TV shows, but now we watch YouTube, we watch OTT series and stuff like that. So it evolved, but the core idea of having food while having some sort of entertainment while eating has remained.
Mm. Yeah, I think I mean, that is kind of brilliant if someone thought of that campaign. So that also tells us how advertisement plays a huge role in shaping cultures and societies, which we don't look at it that much because we still feel that cultures and societies are shaped by individuals and our own choices. But a lot of times these information systems play a huge role. And I think like it also makes sense because it is a fascinating story, because when you show people that this can happen and then a lot of people start doing it, then it starts to become very normalized, and then people get so used to it that it stops becoming a
Yeah.
problem, or it stops becoming a
And
thing that some people do.
one of the
Yeah.
biggest things that you said earlier was that when you have boring food, you watch something. And that
Yeah.
is also true, that if you have normal everyday food and you watch something, it is like it instantly turns that into a more enjoyable activity, because your mind says that, okay, this is very boring, this is every day, but you're going to actually watch something new while doing it. So that
Yeah.
actually your brain convinces you that it is a very exciting activity, and that gets you more hooked to the
Yeah,
idea.
and because our dopamine levels have like shot up, and
Yeah.
now we don't feel rewarded if we are not rewarded instantly. And there is actually no reward to eating food without watching anything in our own minds, because the dopamine level will not reach that level compared to the level it will reach watching your favorite person or your favorite show or series on television. So it just does. And like you said, it now is not having a lunch slot. It's uh, distracting ourselves from life slot, because what are you going to do? You have to eat. And while that happens, I'll watch something that will just give me a break. But actually, I don't think it actually gives us a break. It just adds more information to our brain, because we might feel like a break, because in our own concept or in our own head. Sorry, there was a call by our friend who refuses, or who coincidentally calls us every time we start recording. But yeah, so I was saying that the dopamine hits that we now require, they're not coming from food. And it has now started to become about, okay, I have this slot and I need to watch something, because I am going to miss out on it because I don't have time for it in my day plan. And plus, because we think that it's a break, but it's not a break for our brain, because our brain is still receiving this information and it still has to process it. So it's still using our energy, because for us break is not doing our work. But for the brain, the break is taking minimum information and not using a lot of energy processing it. And that's why we kind of sleep, because sleep recharges our brain, and brain shuts down some of the activities, and our brain limits some of the activities, so that once we wake up we can do the things again. Um and also I feel that the on demand thing is also so much responsible for this. Earlier, good shows used to come at
Yeah.
prime time, and then we had to wait for it. And then, usually sports matches come at night. So maybe people were like, let's have lunch and then sit, because you can't actually have lunch at 9 p.m. Or, people are like, yeah, we have lunch at 7 p.m. So we'll have lunch and then watch these series. But now you can watch it anytime. You can watch highlights, you can watch series, you can watch YouTube, you can rewatch a complete match, you can rewatch a series. And like Brooklyn 99, which is a background series for a lot of reasons, because it actually doesn't matter, the stakes are so low in that series that you don't feel overwhelmed while watching it. It's just something that is happening, and that makes it an amazing series to play in the background if you are thinking something, or if you are eating. And that dopamine level is like so important, because I experience it so much. Because look, my brain, and I'm not saying I'm special, I'm just saying that I am this way. I get excited when we are solving a problem, like we do a lot of times when we talk and we record a podcast. It's not predetermined. We don't know what we are going to talk about. We just take a question and have opinions, and then while talking we try to solve this or give an answer to this question. And while I do that, I don't require any distractions. I'm like completely focused. But when it comes to tasks that are very simple, my brain itches for something more, which is, I feel, not a good thing. So I should curb that, obviously. But like, if I am just entering data in Google Sheets, I'll probably put on a podcast. If I'm emailing, I'll probably put up a video that, or an explainer of a concept, so that like my brain is distracted and it gets the stimulation that it craves for. But it's like, every time I have some kind of feeling about eating, I stuff myself with junk food. It's like that equivalent of that. So I think that's another reason. Yeah.
Yeah. And as you said, oh, like you stuff. So this is called mindless eating, and
Yeah.
when we do it, and when we do it without it, it's called mindful eating. So
Yeah.
some things that happen, and I have also noticed this with myself, I have consciously thought about these effects. So one of the most important things that happens is that because you're watching something, you're not actually paying attention to what you're having, and if it's junk food, you actually end up consuming a lot more than maybe you would have if you were actually paying attention to what. Because you
Yes.
actually notice this when you are eating something in a restaurant sitting, and you will probably eat lot less more compared to if you plan to eat something while watching something, because our mind is obviously not paying complete attention to what is going on here. It is focused on two things, and sometimes one bad thing is that it results in overeating, emotional eating. As you have told me in the past, what it is when you associate food as a way to deal with what you're feeling with right now. So
Yeah, stress or
watching,
anxiety, you want reward. Yeah, basically
yeah,
reward. So if you associate that food item with a reward, and if you're having a very bad day, if you're having anxiety, if you're under stress, you kind of go and eat that because you want to
yeah.
feel good.
So TV watching, eating something while watching TV also closely, mirrors to this, because you're not actually paying attention, and you're just eating it because you feel good while you're watching something, and because of that overstimulation, you don't actually pay attention to it. And another thing is that it
But
is.
before that, can I just back your claim by some evidence? Because I was reading about the effects of this,
Yeah,
and
sure.
that is exactly what you are saying. So it's not just a feeling that you have. So the research says that, okay, so in our body, when we eat, there are some indications, or or some indicators that our body releases, so that we kind of realize that I am full now. So it could be anything. And our
Oh,
brain
yeah.
usually suspects that, okay, I have eaten enough. And then, should we stop? Should I stop? And then we stop. But research shows that if you watch something, if you watch TV, or if you watch anything while eating, these indicators are reduced or suppressed, and they don't happen quite as often. So you tend to eat more as well, because you just don't realize that you are full.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it takes a lot of food to feel you are
Yes.
feel you are full.
Yes, exactly. And that is one question that I also ask myself, or maybe people also should, that did I actually pay attention to what I was eating? Like, do I remember the flavor? Or sometimes it also happens that it affects your memory, doing this sort of an action continuously,
Mm.
that you don't even remember how much you ate or what you had for lunch, because you were not paying attention and you were engrossed in this. And another thing that I have noticed is happened is that it takes a lot more time for me to finish my meal when I'm watching something compared to if I was not watching
Mhm.
that thing. I would have finished it quite quickly, but I took a lot of time to eat while I was
Yeah.
watching, because probably the episode was of 20 or 30 minutes and I wanted to balance that completely with my meal.
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
These sort of things do happen with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's why I've decided to challenge myself to not watch anything while having lunch and dinner till our next episode. So at least a week, and write down, or I don't write down. I you like type it. Type my experience, how I felt on the first day, second day. Did I actually felt the craving of watching something while eating, and what happened? So I think this is a good way to judge.
Yeah,
And if I feel that the results are good, then I'll probably continue that to the next episode as well. And let's see what happens. So I am kind of excited. And again, I mean, this sounds so silly to someone who is not of this generation, to someone who will say, like, what are you talking about? Like, why is it difficult to just eat?
yeah,
Because, and I completely get that it is silly, but we just are living in this world right now where doing these simple things have now been very difficult, or are difficult for
yeah,
us, because we are now surrounded by so many things that are now inculcated in our lives. It has become a habit now. I mean, people say if you do a same thing 21 years, it becomes a habit. Well, I've been doing that for 21 years. Sorry, people say 21. If you have been doing something for 21 days,
21 days,
it
yeah.
becomes a hobby. What about doing it for 21 years? And then
Ab-
suddenly, yeah. So
And
I'm excited about this challenge. Yeah.
yeah, so it's actually a really good thing that maybe even I should try it. But I
Yeah, but
just
let's not do two people at a time, because maybe our friendship might get over or something. Like we become crazy
yeah.
and like
Yeah,
realize,
because it was because you said that maybe it's just because we are facing this, that is why we relate so much. But for someone who does not do this, as you said, it may sound really silly that is
yeah,
just eating. Yeah, but because we were on the topic of TV dinners and how this actually started, I mean, do you have time for another story? Because I was just reading up
yeah.
uh, on it, and because I know you have Arsenal's match in like some time, but do you have
No, this
5
comes
to 10 minutes?
first,
Okay. So, another
and
thing.
because it's a FA Cup against Mansfield. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, so because, I was just reading up on it, and because another habit is having popcorn while watching movies. So I was
Uh,
just interested to know how that, started. And this is what Google told me. I don't know if it's exactly accurate. But so in the 1920s, actually luxury theaters, they had banned food because they considered it distracting and messy, and they wanted to keep the theaters clean. But then during the Great Depression, I think it was in 1930 or 1932, theaters sort of needed revenue, and popcorn was really cheap to produce, and the vendors, they started selling it outside the theaters,
mm,
and then it later moved inside. And during World War II, when sugar rationing, it limited candy production because
mm,
sugar was rationed. So popcorn kind of made its place as the go-to movie
mm,
snack because it was cheap, it was portable, and it did not make a huge mess. So since
mm.
then, now it started back then as theaters wanting to make revenue, but now it is a really important part. It is a connected experience. Like you go to the theaters, you instantly maybe want to eat popcorn even if you have had a meal or you're planning to get a meal. You're like, it's just one bucket. What is it going to harm? And the entire idea behind it is also the same, that you're watching a movie and you do not even realize when the popcorn gets finished.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was also reading.
Yeah, and it's kind
Yeah,
of a big tub actually. If you just start
yeah,
eating that without watching anything, you might
exactly.
feel like, I'm done, but you
And
kind
you
of
don't
finish
even
it. And
realize when
uh,
that finished. And theaters actually do a lot of this. Like I was reading, and one factor, like one thing a lot of people talked about was lighting. So theaters often used dim light to create a relaxed sort of atmosphere,
Yeah.
and in that light you actually don't realize what you are eating. And that is why most of the snacks at theaters, if you see, are snacks like a samosa
Mm.
or a popcorn or a burger and a sandwich, because you wouldn't actually go and have a uh, thali or roti sabzi or something like that, because the lighting is dim. You actually do
Mm.
not want to focus on the food more. So that is why these are the items they sell, because they kind
Quick
of
bites.
make an effect on your brain. Yeah, they kind of
Mm.
convince you that this is the right item to eat right now, and most of it is unfortunately, junk food. And it also, because they sell these popcorn, if you actually have it outside of a theater, it tastes bland, like it doesn't taste anything. But during while watching a movie, your brain doesn't realize it, so it doesn't actually matter what you're having. So if you
But
actually
that's just because you take normal popcorns, and it is a it was a surprising thing where, and it was a bit of a judgment call from my side. I let it go, man. I mean, why don't you have cheese popcorn while watching movies? It was a big thing for me.
I mean, even if you have cheese, not that much of a,
Yeah,
flavor. But yeah,
outside it doesn't taste that good,
yeah,
like, but
yeah.
in
I
theater,
mean,
yeah.
imagine I tell you to have popcorn as a snack when you could have anything else. Your brain will
Yeah.
not think of it as a first choice. And also, they keep the temperature cold inside a movie
Mhm.
theater so that when people feel cold, they actually feel something, the need to eat something so that their body feels warm.
Produces
So,
heat. Yeah.
yeah, so all of these,
Wow. Yeah.
I realized that, eating in front of screens or having some sort of entertainment, it started with brilliant marketing, and
Yeah.
technology kind of just
As it
amplified that.
always does. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it is like, I actually felt really fascinated because all of these were kind of marketing stunts, and now they have become such an essential part of our daily lives. But it also made me realize that it is not just while eating, right? When you go on a walk, you go on a run. It happens with me. I'm talking from personal experience. When I go on a walk, I go on a run, or even when I'm traveling on a two-wheeler, I always want to listen to music. Uh, or maybe some people have seen while they're working, they put something in the background, some sort of a background music.
Yeah.
So it is not about why do we eat while watching something. The broader question is also about why can't we do one activity at a time without any sort of stimulation right
If it
now?
doesn't give that kind of a stimulation that now people expect to have, because our
Yeah,
dopamine levels are
yeah.
really shot up very high, and then we expect that kind of dopamine level hit by every activity, and not all
Everything, yeah.
activities are going to give
Yeah.
that.
We are not
Yeah.
used to doing boring things, and we should start doing monotonous things again so that our brain actually these kind of dopamine
Mhm.
things actually have some kind of, because you said it right, you do not find anything interesting to watch anymore. And maybe that's a personal problem, but it could also be true that right now we do not find a lot of things interesting in life, because we overstimulate every activity in our life, that we are not doing the boring things anymore, which we probably should start doing if we actually want to get our attention span back, and probably, start doing things normally.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the, like, lastly, before ending, one of my favorite things to do that we have limited now because of circumstances is to watch a series or a movie with you all, with
Yeah.
my friends. Because it means that I am with someone, I am having a collective experience, I am joking, I am trying to find logic in something, and we are laughing. And often we watch these it's so bad, it's good movies where the movie takes itself seriously, but it's really bad, but it's so
Yeah.
bad that it is entertaining. And that
Yeah.
is one of the classes, like, this is an experience that I will never forget. And I it's a good thing as well, maybe, that we don't do that anymore as much as we used to do it, because then again the dopamine level that are
Yes.
expected
Yes.
might fall down, and then we might feel it is as a boring activity again. But anyways, yeah, that is something that maybe people should do as well. If you
Yeah.
want to watch
And
something, watch it together. Yeah.
yeah, and just because you mentioned this, like having some sort of entertainment while eating, if that has to be your case, then maybe just start interacting with people more, like maybe sit with your family, or like if you've noticed when we have lunch or dinner at a restaurant or at someone's place, we are not on our phones or we are not watching something, but because we are still talking, we are entertaining each other, it still feels kind of, good while eating. So
Yeah.
maybe that is
And
also something that is a side effect of it, that you have
yeah.
started, because we watch something, we watch it in our own private space. But if you eliminate that and you actually have a dinner like it was earlier with people, with your family or something, it can also increase human interaction, which is sort
And
of
yeah, yeah. Again, this is so silly, man. This is like we are going circular. This is not reinventing something new. This is just like the basics, and
yeah,
I am finding it very fascinating to think about how we are here now at this position where we are actually we have to make a conscious choice of sitting with our family and eating, whereas it was just a norm,
yeah,
and it
normal
is
thing.
still a norm in a
Yeah,
lot of areas and in India as well. But in urban spaces, I think because the effect of media, information, and social media and all these other things, it's just become a norm that the family sits together, even if it sits together in front of the television, and instead of talking about maybe daily happenings, maybe that's the talk is about the show or the series. And I also think, and I would also absolutely love to have these conversations with parents. And I think earlier, I mean, I read in a lot of books that earlier political conversations and behavioral conversation used to happen at the table. But
yeah,
obviously, that has also reduced because of the polarization that we have. And the polarization is like huge, where discussions are now considered as something that is like
yeah,
extreme.
yeah.
Like, so it's not just a discussion if because the disagreement is very extreme. So I think that can also come back if we start doing this. So all right, yeah, I mean, yeah, you have something to say before we end?
No, I think, yeah, that's about it. Like just getting the basics uh right, or start doing the basics, is probably how we'll go back to being
Yeah.
normal again.
show show this episode to someone from 2000s or 1990s, and they will say, man, the world is going to get destroyed. This If this is the future, then I'm glad that I'm going to die in 10 years. So yeah, but anyways, I'm excited for the challenge, and if you also have anything about this, do comment and do subscribe. So yeah, we're done now, and
Yeah.
we will meet until next time.